If I can scoop him up. There we go, I got him.
All right, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Hey, we finally got some nice weather. I don't know if y'all can see the sunshine out there. We've had some rough weather for the past few weeks, but hopefully it's broken. We're gonna give us a few warm days. Anyways, I'm getting the boat gassed up right now. Going to get the oil checked, make sure everything's good with it, get ready to go fishing this coming weekend. But anyways, in the meantime, I'm going to show y'all how I set up a rod and reel. I've had a couple questions about, hey, what rod do you use, what reel do you use, line, stuff like that. So I want to show y'all how I set them up. So stick around, and again, hey, appreciate you watching. All right, so one of the most important things in your setup for chasing trophy cats is going to be your reel. So what I use the Shimano Charter Special. They're a lever drag reel. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with them, but anyways, what you do, you get that lever right there and you push it back, and that actually lets it free spool, and that's how you cast it. That's like the button that you push down on like more of a traditional low profile or your round Abu Garcia style reels. So anyways, you push that down, you cast it, and then when it gets out there in the water, you push that lever up. Now it's locked in, right? So anyways, that's how you use that. These things, they have a drag clicker. They'll hold a ton of 40-pound Berkeley big game line. I've had really good luck out of these. I know the guy that I seen use them, his name's Mike Mitchell. Him and his son, they do that Southern Cats guide service up here on the Tennessee River. They've caught a ton of big fish too, and I always thought, hey, if they're good enough for them boys, these reels plenty good for me. But anyways, they're a really good reel. I've got, this make 10 of them right here, so obviously to buy that many of them, I got good faith in them. They don't weigh that much. I think they're about 180 bucks now with since inflation and all has hit the past couple of years, but I do know they have 33 pounds of drag, and they are more than adequate for any kind of catfishing you do. You know, I've caught anywhere from mid-80s to, you know, 3, 4, 5 pounders on them. Something else, they also got the drag clicker. That's super important when you're anchor fishing or dragging planer boards down the river. You know, something about it, you don't necessarily need that clicker if you're walking baits below the dam, because you're going to have your rod in your hand, but I like to have that on in case I'm not paying attention and I get a bite. So anyways, that's the reel that I use, Shimano Charter Special. I think the part number is actually a, I thought I seen it on here somewhere. Anyways, 2000 LD. The 2000 is the size reel, and the LD stands for lever drag. So anyways, that's that. All right, so the kind of rods I like to use, what I've always stuck with is this Big Cat Fever. I've got several of the Hellcats, and you can tell they are nasty. I've got a ton of time on them, and I've started buying these Big Cat Fever Zach Royce's. You know, they used to have the black or the white ones. I think in the past year and a half or so, they've came out with the blue and silver options. I like the way they look. You know, they're good rods. I'm sure you can find cheaper. I know you can find more expensive, but these suit me pretty good. I think a lot of what draws people to rods and reels is pretty much just finding the color combo you like. I mean, some people, they like the wild colors, you know, them orange, they're kind of bright. I will say something about the bright colors. I think that helps other boats see going down the river. I know it definitely can't hurt. But anyways, the rods I use, every one of these, they're all 7'6". They're heavy action rods. I like that heavy action, especially when you're dragging planer boards behind the boat, and you know, you're liable to have out 75, 80 yards of line, and so they got the backbone to take that fight to the fish. Anyway, so that's the rods I use, and we'll go ahead and stick this reel on here. These things, something about them also, these Big Cat Fevers, they got metal rod keeps on them. I know some rods do, some rods don't, but anyways, I've had this rod for probably over a year sitting out here in the garage. I just hadn't really had any need to rig it up, but the other day I was out at the place where I buy all my reels, a little place down here by the house, and they had some of these on the shelf, so I used up a gift card and bought one. Anyway, so you see you got your metal rod keeper right there, or seat, I guess you'd call it. They got 2 aluminum jam nuts. I just tighten them things down, get them good and tight. Really that first one right there, you know, then the second one just locks it in place. So you're going to notice something, you're going to get out there and get to fishing, and things they going to kind of loosen up a little bit. So something good to do before you cast them out for the first time that day, just kind of make sure they're tight. And again, that aluminum will kind of back off, so aluminum nuts. So anyway, just always kind of keep an eye on that. You can see it's a pretty nice setup right there. Hopefully y'all can see it. I know I've had real good luck out of them. That's why I keep buying them, right? All right, so we talked about the rod and the reel and putting them together. And before we put the line on the rod, I'm gonna tell y'all about the other stuff I used. So the leader line I used is this Andy 100-pound monofilament leader line. It's very abrasion resistant. You can get it at Bass Pro Shops. You can order it straight from them. That's where I got this from. I've had really good luck out of that. It's like anything though, you gotta take care of it. After you catch a fish, run your finger up and down that leader, make sure that it ain't nicked, and if it is, just replace it. I'd rather take 5 minutes out of having a rod in the water and have something that I know is 100% correct in there. So anyways, that's my leader line. I use these 2-0 swivels from Bass Pro. They're about 1.1/8 inch long. They're pretty big, super heavy duty. I've never had one fail, and I've used them a lot. I will continue to use them. I also use the Bass Pro Shops, I guess it'd be a the knot savers. So it protects the knots from getting hit, you know, by the sinker slider, anything like that. So hey, they work good. They will deteriorate over time and you'll have to replace one. That ain't no big deal. When you go to Bass Pro and you're buying them, just buy a ton of them. All right, so my sinker sliders, they come from Amazon. That's where I get them. They're extremely cheap. They work really well. All that does is travel up and down that main line. That way, you know, if you got some fish that's real slow to bite or anything, hopefully when they bite it, they'll just pull the bait through and let that weight sit there on the bottom, so it'll actually slide the slide, and they won't feel all that pressure from the weight. So that's why I use them. Again, look how many I got. You know they gotta be cheap. If it was expensive, I wouldn't be buying that many. And really, one of the main things on this end's the hook. So I use these Whisker Seeker 12-0 triple threat hooks. I've had really good luck out of them. Hey, now these are some big boys right here. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people will not use 12-0 hooks. They think they're just too big, but look how big they are. Wish I had something to compare them with. Anyways, they're a big hook. The reason I use that big hook is because I can't help but think when the catfish are sitting there and they got your bait, I want that gap of that hook to be wider than their tooth patch. I don't want that hook point trying to go through their tooth patch. You know, you get into a big 50+ pound catfish, that tooth patch will be 3/4 inch from their lip, you know, going back down their throat. So I want something that's going to get around that and get in the meat and hook them good. Never had a problem with them. And I've caught some tiny fish on these, and I've caught some big ones. So, hey, I'll keep using them. I just reordered a bunch, so I'm locked in now for about another year at least. But they are good hooks, and I would highly recommend them. Next thing that goes on that leader line are peg floats. Some people run peg floats just when dragging planer boards, you know, dragging baits. I use them all year. I just leave them on there. I actually use these for monster catfishing. These 24-pack, they were very reasonably priced. Now you can see on there, I got some there, camouflage color, stuff like that, but the reason I went to the black and I've started going to black stuff is I've got out there and I've had times where the only rods that get bid is the ones with the black float on them. Maybe just a coincidence, maybe something they can't see. They can't see the black when they're down there. I'm not sure, but hey, confidence is king in this game, and that's why I'm gonna keep using them. I have confidence in them and they work good. So anyways, that's really what they call, you know, your terminal tackle. Stuff you're gonna use with every kind of condition. Now I will say, I don't necessarily use this exact same setup with swivels and all when I'm walking baits with my bumping rods. That's something we can talk about on another video. But when I'm anchoring or dragging baits when there ain't no current, this is the exact same setup for the whole thing. I always use 100-pound leader, 40-pound line, and I use the big hooks. Anyways, let's get to putting that line on that reel, and let's let y'all see how I do that. All right, so the kind of line I use this 40-pound, see if y'all can see it. I use this 40-pound green Berkley big game fish line. It's just regular monofilament, it's nothing special. It's just what I found to be the most readily available, and it's pretty cost effective. I think when I bought this big reel, it was like 90 bucks or something, and I change my line out pretty regular, and so that helps out. It don't break the wallet when I do it. I try to change my line out probably, I don't know, every couple months at least. One thing about it though, it's always good to inspect your line, prior to casting out that first bait in the morning. Last thing you want to do is lose a big one because you got a section of line messed up. So anyways, that's what I like to use. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get this reel, get it filled up with this line, and we'll come back to y'all. All right, so let's get this fishing line through the eyes of this rod. I like to count them as I go down. That way I know I don't miss one. These rods right here, they got 10 eyes on them. So anyways, I count them that way I don't go around one. That has happened to me before. It's bad when you're 5. It's bad when you get out there and you got one of your buddies with you and they're all psyched about going catfishing. Then you get out there and look like a child put them together. I know I've did that more times than I like to admit. Anyway, so that's number 10 right there. That's the last one. If I can grab that line. Now we're going to go ahead and get it tied up to the spool right here. All right, so I got my fishing line through the level wind eye, and I went under the spool and got it wrapped around the backside. So anyways, I'm going to pull a loop through. I'm just going to tie a regular fisherman's knot. It's no special knot. Just wrapped around that main line 7 times. Back through the eye right there at your reel. Back through the loop you just made. I found that the more you do this, the better you get at it, and it won't take you but a second. So anyways, pull that down, get it tied on your spool. Pull both the tail end and the main line end that's going out to your fishing line, to your spool of fishing line. Get that tight. I know there's probably a better way to do that. That's how I do it. I hadn't had any bad luck from it yet. So anyways, got that. I'm gonna find my side cutters right here. Go ahead and pop that off pretty low down there. That way you ain't gotta necessarily worry about it pulling through. Hey, now it's the part that takes the longest. We got to get this thing full of fishing lines. So let's get this done now. All right, so before we reel this thing up, just a couple things that's important to remember. What I like to do, I like to have this fishing line going between the thumb and the index finger, and hold that pretty tight right there. That way you can keep tension on this and just make that line sit on there better, a little bit tighter. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna get this fishing line on. We're gonna put about as much as I can on here and get that on. We'll show y'all the next step. All right, so I got this thing just right at the, right there at full. That's plenty of line, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this thing off and start getting my leader put on. All right, so this is how I do a snell knot. You can get on here and look up snell knots, and there's a million different ways to do it. Anyways, first thing I do, you see this thing's got the bend in the hook shank. Anyways, I just take and run that leader line through that eye of that hook, then I run it back through it again, right? So that'll leave a loop on there. I do that till I let go and it comes out. But anyways, do that, it leaves a loop. I'll take and pull about 5 or 6 inches of slack back up through there and leave that loop on the bottom of the hook. Then I just start winding it around. I like to go at least 7 times, so that's 4 times. There's 7, so I'm good to go now. I can cut it off if I wanted, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of the slack. So anyways, I think I ended up about 9 times on there. Then you just take that tail right there and feed it back through that loop you had left over at the bottom. I'll take and moisten that up, then just take and pull it through. Kind of spin that around to the back side as you pull it, but anyways, just pull it through. Then you can go ahead and take and cut the tail end of that thing off. That right there, that knot right there, it's called a means of fish, and I know I'm not the only one using it. I think about all you big catfish people, they use that snail knot right there, so you can kind of see it. Pretty good looking knot. Anyways, after you do that, move this camera up. That way you can see my face. I know that's a joy. Anyways, next thing I do, I go ahead and put my peg floats on here. Just take and feed that thing up through. I'll usually leave it, you know, about a foot above that hook. Then just take the little keeper that they send with it and shove back down through the top. That'll hold that float in place. That way it won't be riding up on your leader while you're going down the water. So hopefully y'all can see that. Hopefully y'all can see it better than the catfish can. Anyway, so that's that. Next thing I do, use a Palomar knot and tie on them swivels I was telling you about, them 2 0 swivels. Anyways, these Palomar knots, they one of the strong ones. I think I remember reading in a magazine a long time ago how it's supposed to be the strongest. Anyways, go ahead and tie your knot on, get that swivel. I know you got to moisten these things up too because they say it'll burn the line. So anyways, we got that. Go ahead and do that. Now you're gonna have to kind of play with these lines and pull one then the other, especially with this big old leader line. Get that on there. And I like to have that loop that you made last and it's harder to tighten up. I like to have it below the main knot. Anyways, get that, pull against each other. You know, just make sure it's seated good. And that's how it'll look when it's said and done. Folks, there really ain't that much to this, I promise you. All right, folks, so that's my leader, got it done. Folks, this ain't like bass fishing. You ain't got to have a million different things. That's kind of one of the beauties about it. Really, the toughest thing about it with your setup is just paying for it and then getting out there and going fishing. It's not actually setting it up. You're not having to wonder what color spinnerbait they're biting or what color worm. Hey, main thing is getting out there finding bait. So anyways, we got that done. Now we're gonna go ahead and put it on the end of our line. So we'll stop the video and try to get in position. Hopefully this right here, I've moved the camera around 84 different times. Hopefully you're getting a little bit out of it. This video, I don't know that it'll be one that, you know, I put out on a Saturday or something like that, or rather that be a fishing video. But again, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's like, hey, put a video of that up, let people see how you're doing it. So anyways, hopefully y'all get something out of this instead of just watching me out here piddle. What I do though, a lot of people don't do this. I put one of them knot savers above that sinker slider too. That way when I cast out, you know, you won't have all the line just going, you know, you won't have a big separation between your hook and your weight. That way it just don't get too far away from it. Anyways, put a knot saver on there. Go ahead and put your slider sinker on there, sinker slider. And then go ahead and do the other one. Show y'all what you left with right here. Anyways, got that on there. Hopefully you can see that kind of with my sweatshirt. Anyways, got that on there. Now all I gotta do is tie my leader on. Let's get my leader on. Again, I use a Palomar knot for this. Snail knot and Palomar knots is what I use on my lines. Then, you know, that fisherman knot on hold my fishing line to my spool. So anyways, there we go, getting this Palomar knot started. This don't take but a second, folks. I can have one of these done 4 or 5 minutes easy. You know, setting the whole rod and reel up. But just thought I'd film it for y'all. Hopefully you get something out of it. All right, about got it done. Always make sure you wet them knots on them Palomars. You don't want to burn nothing and cause you to lose a monster. Man, that is so easy. That's so easy a catfisherman can do it. All right, got that on there. Now get out your flush cuts right here. Cut you off about a 3/8 of an inch tail. Well, if I can get a hold of it. All right, so that's what I'm left with. Hopefully y'all can see that. My 2 Palomar knots on my swivel. Pretty big swivel right there, you know, you can kind of see. It's probably the size of a $half. So that's that. Now I'll talk to y'all real quick about different weights that I use. All right, so this right here, this is a drag-em weight, right? All the weight is right here on the end. You can probably see where it's roughed up. It's just a chunk of lead, and the rest of it's got foam in here. That way it's a little bit more buoyant than that lead. And in the water column, that thing will actually ride up like that, and it'll help keep your bait that you're dragging behind it, help keep it up off the bottom. And also, you can see where all the damage is at on this thing. It's used, well used. You can see that, that's from it dragging down that riverbed right there. They work really good, and if the current's not too high, you know, if it's really probably 20,000 under, you can use these things right here anchor fishing. I really like to use them, they're nice. I know they're big in the catfish market too, so. Anyways, then these right here, these are just old lead weights that I mold myself. You know, these right here, I got a 6 and an 8. I just make these back here on my bench. Super simple, nothing to them. So that's the kind of weights that I use. So that's it. That's my catfish rig set up. That's what I use for trophy cats. And also that's what I use for them little bitty ones that you see too. So, hey, you catch anything from channel cats to flatheads to huge blues. Check that out. You can kind of see how it looks. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all watching that video. Hopefully y'all got something out of it. That's how I set up my rod and reel. It's pretty simple. I really don't change it up none from that. And hopefully you got something out of it. Hey, if there's something you do different, go put it down in the comments section. I love to hear from you. But anyways, y'all have a good week. Y'all get out, go catch some catfish. And again, appreciate y'all watching.